At this time, we will have approval of the minutes, and Counselor, if you've had a chance to read our very long
Yes.
set of minutes,
The
could I
minutes
entertain
appear
a
to be
motion?
in order, so make a recommendation, or I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you. Yay on my point, so the minutes of the meeting are approved from December 23rd, 2024. At this time, we do have two items on our regular agenda for today. And the first, I do want to thank members of the Jones Group LLC for really assisting us and really working very closely with the mayor's team and the council in providing information that helped us to come up with our 2025 legislative agenda. So at this time, I'll ask Mr. James Aaron Pierre to come up, and he's just going to give us an update about the legislative session and things that are related to it. Thank you so much, Mr. Pierre. I want to say
Thank you
James
so
Aaron.
much, Councilwoman and Mr. President. James Aaron Pierre, I work for the Jones Group, one of the lobbyists there, and also have my colleague, Mr. Morrison, that's here as well. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the legislative agenda. We've been working really hard on making sure we get some really good sponsors for those pieces of legislation that is important to the council in the city of Birmingham as well. And I know we have some other legislation that still needs to be advertised for the duration of the 4 weeks. So once those the advertisement period is done, we'll be sure to continue to share that information with some good legislators that will be able to carry our water, if you will, in the legislative session. I know we have some things that have already been discussed via email and things like that, but will continue to have those conversations with our legislators to make sure they have all the information that's needed in order to, properly advocate for these pieces of legislation on the House floor and in the Senate as well. So at this time, if you guys have any questions or anything in regards to this agenda, please let me know, and we'll be more than happy to answer those for you.
Dr. O'Quinn, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm looking over the documents, and I don't know if I'm getting ahead of you,
That's okay.
Madam Chair, but it looks like we've had some items on our city's legislative agenda that have been struck out, or, I mean, it says there's been some changes there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think, let's see, number 5, I think the squatters bill, I think that was striked, removed. I'm not aware of why that one was striked. I'll ask Mr. Morrison if he knows more. Mr. Hill, you might know more about that one, but I know the rest of the pieces of legislation, again, we have advocated and secured some sponsors for those on the House and the Senate side. So, Mr. Hilliard.
To give you an update on the squatters amendment, the reason why we were doing the squatters amendment was because when the bill first passed last year and then went into effect, the police were having problems with property. We thought that was going to be a major issue. They said we got to do it in the next legislative session. We've been tracking that, and it has not been the issue that they thought it was or thought it would be. So they're still evaluating whether or not this needs to be a legislative movement. So they're checking the statistics on the moves they've had to make and the ones coming in the future to see if it's necessary to go legislative. They anticipated that it would, so they put us on notice, and so we move forward with it. But right now, they're saying that it may not be the necessity to do it, especially not at the top of our legislative agenda, because that'll give us an opportunity to focus on some of the other pieces of legislation. And let me see.
Let me just be sure, so then, does that answer your question about that particular piece of legislation?
Yeah, that particular one, but there's a couple other ones.
Yes, go ahead.
There.
So the other two on here, the Public Works emergency provision, what we're trying to see right now is we're trying to see what that bill would do is it would allow for in emergency situations for PEP to be able to make things like repairs. So for example, when Boutwell Auditorium had a leak, and according to the way it's written now, for an emergency thing, they'd have to have the council would have to meet and do it. But what we're trying to see is how, if that's necessary, because what we don't ever want it to appear is if we're trying to usurp the power of the council, and specifically itemize what would be considered an emergency that would circumvent that. So we wanted to pull that back to make sure that, once again, we don't ever do anything that gives the wrong impression. And then for the last one, the personnel board opt out, we have to have, there's a special way that needs to be written to give everybody comfort. And right now, we're trying to make sure that that bill is written properly, because that would be the one that would allow the city of Birmingham only for hiring to opt out. But as you know, there are people who are concerned about how that may affect it. Once again, the city is trying to do positive things to move forward and help with our public safety and hire, but not do anything that would make those same people uncomfortable. So we're trying to make sure that we have everything written properly, and that as much as we can come to a cohesive agreement, we can get there. So these three they're not struck per se, you see that on yours, but they have moved in priority down to the bottom until we get those situations pieced together, just to make sure. It's great to have an agenda. We want to make sure that we have the right agenda and that it's in the right priorities.
Gotcha. So thank you for the clarification, especially on the personnel board issue. You know, that's something that we've been talking about for a minute.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I agree, the folks need to know exactly what's being proposed in terms of the language of the legislation. So thank you for the update.
Not a problem.
And I want to thank you as well. I do just want for clarity. The squatters bill, it's not going to OCA or anyone else. This one is really struck, or this is removed. Or is there some consideration it may come back before us?
Yeah, so for right now, until there's a need to do it, so we'll come right back. But we have it in a place where we can still do it this session if necessary. That's one, that because it would be just an amendment, it wouldn't cause the same level of controversy. Since the original bill is passed, to clarify something like that wouldn't be an issue. So if it's necessary, but the Office of City Attorney really wanted to make sure that it was necessary first. So they're evaluating that, looking at the cases, and people who've actually done ride along with the officers to evaluate that situation.
Dr. Quinn?
Yeah, so I just would like some clarification, and maybe you don't, know what the exact policy is, but I would like to have clarity on this. Is that, so, we have, from time to time, issues with encampments around the city. Take a drive around, you run across half a dozen. And from time to time, the police department and Public Works and the property owner, will collaborate to remove the encampment. And, so there's a logistical challenge there. It's been my understanding that when those encampments are abated, that the policy has been that they, Public Works or the police department or whoever is taking an inventory of the items that are in the person's possession.
Okay.
So, that in itself would indicate to me that if we're taking an inventory, that we're hanging on to that stuff for some period of time so that the individual can reclaim those items, or I don't know. I just want like some clarity, because I can see how,
So two
having
things.
to take those steps would be
Yeah.
an additional burden.
Yeah.
So,
Well, first I want to do is I want to say that you are absolutely correct that I am the wrong person to have that specific information on that, whether it's itemized or. I do know that encampments fall under a different category than this legislation. This squatters legislation is for residential property when you have someone inside of your property. It could be a former renter sometimes. It could be somebody who just, so this is a different situation than squatter situations. But honestly, I do not know the legal language or our obligations on that. And I'd rather, instead of even guessing, I'd rather just take a note on that and get back to you on what that procedure actually is.
okay, thank you.
Like Dr. O'Quinn, I am glad he asked for the clarification, because I was under not supposed to assume anything, but I was under the understanding that this would also give us more credence on how to deal with when people are, like, we had someone that had set up house in one of our area parks and actually had mattress and like it was their home. And so that was the case. We had to work on wait on Public Works and the Park and Rec Board to work with them to move them out. But I was wondering if this squatter's property addition would take care of that particular situation as well.
I don't believe so. This language is specific, had been specific to
sense.
to private property,
Okay.
residential.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. All right, so then can we expect to get a clean copy of these, and so that when our upcoming meeting, we'll have one that looks like this, it'll be up to, we need to communicate that with our council, because they've approved a version that now has some changes.
Yeah, and we'll give you updates, and once again, there will be updates when we start talking about going forward.
Okay.
There'll be multiple updates that come up, because every day, as the Jones Group told you, they're getting new sponsors. Sponsors may even change. There may be some other partnerships that happen, so we'll have to update you on those. So it'll stay fluid up until that meeting that you're referencing on the 27th at noon.
Thank you. Dr. Quinn, anything else on this particular?
No, I'm just looking, over this, and I see that, sponsors have been identified for the other, some of the others. So we're still needing sponsors for the vacant property registration and the community land trust.
I believe the vacant property registration isn't that representative. He did it
Is that
last week.
Tillman?
Yeah, Tillman.
Representative Tillman. He
Perfect.
is re-upping on that one. So, but that happened yesterday, the day before yesterday. So that's, like I said, it's
Very
fluid.
good. Very good. So, thank you for this update. I do want to ask if you have any more, just for any public residents that are looking at this particular committee meeting, if you could just kind of give them just a brief overview, sort of what's happened now with the legislature as they start their first meeting, and just how this flows into how we'll be prepared for the first day of session.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Mayor.
Thank you again, and thank you for allowing us to work with the council and serve y'all and the people of Birmingham. So the session starts February the 4th. What you can expect this session, in our opinions, are a few items. We'll just hit the highlights. Number one, good things are going on, but they also, sometimes good things have negative impact. For an example, our general fund budget is not growing at the rate that we anticipated, and we're all on pins and needles. Yes, we want the interest rate to come down, but when the interest rate comes down, the state of Alabama loses money, because the bulk of the money that goes in a general fund are put into an account that draws interest, and so that does, which is good, but it also limits the amount of revenue we generate. So the legislators will be looking at ways to figure out how to shore up what's going to happen with the general fund budget moving forward. On the education side, it's just still growing at a rate that everybody feels comfortable with. The issues that they're looking at on the education side is, it's been roughly probably 25 years since they looked at the way that the education dollars are distributed statewide, and so they're looking at ways that to redo that formula. So, for an example, if you got certain parts of the states that you have an abundance of children that are I'll use my terminology, a special need, then some money can be focused, more money to that area to help those children raise them up. So that's being debated as we speak now. Another issue I know that a lot of people in Alabama, whether you're for or against, are really paying attention is the gaming issue. The gaming issue will be back this session. It lost by 1 vote in the Senate last session. And when I say lost, the only question that's being asked is, let the people, have the right to vote on it. So it lost by 1. That issue will be brought up again. The reason for that is, as we mentioned, the general fund is running short on money. The state's got to find some way to create a new prison in South Alabama, and they got to find revenue. And no one wants to raise taxes. So they're looking at all alternative forms of generating money. So that issue will be brought up. There'll also be issues addressing the ongoing mental health crisis we have in the state. They'll also be addressing issues about the growing crime problem that we have statewide. As I've mentioned personally before, Birmingham is mentioned a lot, Montgomery, Mobile. Part of that is because you have a lot of media coverage. But you have crime throughout the state. And I know state leaders want to come up with a way to how can the state assist local entities on combating that growing crime problem statewide. And then with the new president coming on board next Monday, I think people in government are waiting to see what the president agenda is going to be. A lot of that can trickle down to the state. Y'all too young to remember, but President Reagan came in and made some huge changes in the early 80s, and a lot of that trickled down. So I think the legislators in Alabama have got a lot they're going to be looking at to address in the next session. But we'll start on February the 4th. The first 2 weeks we'll be meeting 3 days a week, trying to get everything moving quick and fast. And there will be some bills that I know of interest to y'all, and that has to do with the gun issue. And some of those are on the agenda, and some of those are part of the Big Ten agenda as well. So those are issues that you will see, and then of course there'll probably be anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 bills that'll be introduced during the session.
Thank you very much. And so with these bills that we are waiting on to get the OCA and the other, how does that work with advertisement and being sure that we're within a good time frame?
So we're in a good time frame right now. Alyssa in our office, she submitted those 4 bills that need to be advertised,
Okay.
I think a day ago or 2 days ago, to the Office of City Attorney. So they should start advertising those soon. So we'll be right on track for the first week of session.
Very good, very good. Any other questions for the Jones Group?
Yeah, a couple of things. So as we think about our date now that we have set for meeting with the Jefferson County delegation, Pro Tem Alexander and myself, are very engaged and very attuned to these different, pieces of legislation that we've asked for. But I'm thinking about my other colleagues who, aren't integrated into these conversations on a regular basis. So, I want to make sure that our team is fully up to speed and ready to go into that meeting fully prepared. So, if we could talk, or meet or plan some sort of training ahead of meeting with the Jefferson County delegation, I think that would mitigate any,
Angst.
we want it to go smooth, right? So let's make sure that everybody's, adequately prepared.
Yes, sir. If y'all would just send us a couple of dates and time and say, and we can do it in sections. And what I mean by sections, if you got Councilman Williams and Woods and maybe Councilwoman Tate, if those 3 of them could be on a Zoom call Thursday next week at 3:15, whatever we can do to help, we'll be glad, because you're correct. Everybody needs to be singing from the same hymnal, the same page. And because unity, which y'all have with the mayor's office, that unity means a lot, and those legislators like seeing that. So you just let us know, and we'll figure out a way to help. And then obviously, I know both y'all have my cell phone number, but if any of the council members need it, send it to them, and we'll be glad to try to prepare them. Because it will become a point during the session that we'll reach out to Mr. Hilliard and reach out to y'all to say, hey, can you pick up the phone and call, Representative so-and-so or Senator so-and-so? Because I know that means a lot to them to hear from y'all as well.
Well, I'm great. Thank you, Dr. O'Quinn, for making that suggestion, and I'm sure it's something we will get our administrative staff, central staff, to help us in setting those up, if that'll be okay. And I think the method that you'd like to do it with the Zoom call would be very effective, and we'll keep the Open Meetings Act honest and limit the number of counselors that could be in there at that one time. Is that agreeable to you? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, thank you. Well, we appreciate this update. We're very excited for the session to begin. Thank you for taking the call and working to set up the meeting that we have scheduled in January. I know a lot of counselors and really want to get there and be able to intelligently discuss these items. So I think that'll work for all of us. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. On our next item, and I believe Mr. Hilliard has sort of helped us already with that, but just, Mr. Hilliard, we had you on to just talk about next steps and sort of give us just a little game plan on anything you need from the council or what we can expect from your side.
No problem. We've really, like you said, already touched it. I think the big thing is January 27th at noon. We meet with a delegation. Both the Jones Group and I understand you guys too, have already started meeting with the counselors, with the legislators and speaking to them. I actually had a couple today. We'll continue to do that. So really, it's moving forward, just trying to get sponsors right now, seeing the lay of the land. What kind of mood is this? And as Neil talked about, especially coming off an election, trying to see what the new administration's agenda is going to be, kind of seeing what kind of mood the legislature is going to be in this year. So really preparing for January 27th. They go in on the 4th. I assume that most of you are going to ALM's Advocacy Day.
Yes, we have a pretty good number.
And you know, well, part of what we're thinking is that in addition to the ALM activities, if we can get a good cohort of the council down there and, the mayor's office, we could have, some additional conversation in Montgomery while everyone's assembled.
So I know I'll be there. I believe Alyssa from our office is going to be participating with ALM, so she should be right alongside you guys with that. The Jones Group will already be there. So honestly, the other things that we might be able to accomplish, now the ALM day is all day, so we might not be able to break away necessarily. They usually have that lunch where the legislators come down, and then we can have that joint conversation there. And then the reception that night is typically another opportunity for us to meet. So with the Jones Group assistants, we probably can get, together and work out any kind of plan we need, and then we can decide. I issued this challenge last year. I'm not sure if anybody took me up. I'm pretty sure it's no. But I really do believe that the best way for this to really work, and you guys are already into it now, is to choose one or two bills and actually follow the process. It may be difficult to try to make it down for the committee meeting and then make it down for the day it's supposed to be on the schedule. But I really do believe if you see that process, how it actually makes it to the committee, and actually watch it, it may answer a few more questions. Sometimes you perceive it one way as people do the council. You perceive it one day, but when actually follow the bill through, you see it. And I think that will help even deal with the legislators. And then as you go down, anytime you go down, the Jones Group, and I'll be there most days, but the Jones Group will also be there for individual meetings if you'd like to set those up. And that goes for even the departments too, not just the legislators and senators.
I think that would be very helpful for us. I do feel that the president and I, and maybe one or two other members, would like to be there when some of these more important bills are our priority, 1, 2, 3, 4, when they come up, and then maybe if we could lend a hand in any, just being in the room might be helpful. You were saying that's what you think?
Yes.
Very good, very good. All right, well, I'm excited about the session starting and what's being done so far. I'm very appreciative of the work that's being done. Dr. O'Quinn, did you have anything else for Mr. Hilliard?
I don't think so. I think we covered it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hilliard, we really do appreciate it, and members of your team as well, so we look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any old and new business? I don't have any.
Congrats again for being named chair of the National League of Cities Large Cities Council.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to represent the city of Birmingham and our council on that, so I appreciate that. All right, well, can I get an adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.